Welcome to GA325 Corporate Campaigns. This is Week 7, Presentation Part 1. Real-world publications vary their design due to difference in designers. Each designer might have their own particular style, and the company might hire those designers dependent upon their particular style. The company might have their own way of how the design should look, and so they would hire a designer to adapt to their already created concepts. Visual identity, corporate image. These are usually already been created if it's a well-established company, so the designer is kind of forced to stick within those visual identity, corporate image kind of guidelines, which is color scheme, logo, font choice, things like that. Also, it changes in terms of form, depending on what that would be. For instance, an annual report, a newsletter, catalog, those are all printable materials. Also, you have to think about online design and even on television video. And of course, their intended audience. Viewing and critiquing grid design is important so that you can have exposure to different examples of what works and what doesn't. This will help you make better design choices in your own projects. So continue to search online for various types of graphic design examples that have to do with grid and also that have to do with a variety of different things, because the more exposure that you have and the more critiques that you do just will overall make you a better designer. So these next slides will go over some new design terms that we may not have covered quite yet. A brochure can be designed as a magalog. A magalog is a hybrid publication with the editorial structure of a magazine combined with a catalog of the company's services or products. Important parts of the design formula in most publications are the paper to be used in the final printing, the binding, the type of ink, and the folding. These are all important aspects of the final piece, but the graphic designer is not always involved in these choices. Often price has to do with the major factor in the selecting of these particular outcomes. Die cut. A die cut is a shape that is cut out of the inside of a page, or it is a shape that extends beyond the publication's rectangular format. A die cut can allow a special illustration to be freed from the rectangular boundary of the page and not be cropped off. A die cut can also create a window on the top page, which reveals a section of the page below it. This can allow the designer to show part of the bottom page's illustration on the cover and then surprise the reader when the page is turned and the whole image is revealed. Hairline rules are thin lines that serve as separations between text blocks and images or break the space of a page into pieces, like making a grid system visible. A font catalog is specialized, aimed at graphic artists and publishers. It basically displays the font in a small booklet, presenting it at various sizes and showing variations of the type. This is usually done in a creative way to help sell the front to its potential buyers. Catalogs. A catalog is distinct in its form in that it provides the information regarding products and services of a particular company. A catalog's main concern is promoting the company, sharing visual identity, and selling. Designers still need to reflect the company's image, provide an attractive cover, and present an organized listing of a large number of items. Large catalogs will need a navigational system or glossary in order for customers to quickly access items of interest. It is even more imperative that the printed catalog is attractive and easy to access now that most companies have digital catalogs on their website with powerful search engines and vast amounts of information available. Annual reports. The basic function of an annual report is to communicate company's values during that particular year. A company's progress needs to be illustrated within its pages. A large amount of revenue, assets, information, business data, visual identity images, charts, graphs, and diagrams must be brought together as a whole by the designer. A common pacing approach is to have the first section be image-oriented and slow, and the second half to be mostly numbers like lists of profits, growths, etc. An annual report's typical audience is its stock or shareholders, company employees, and administrators. Very large corporations will often offer their annual reports to the public. These can be downloaded from the company's website. This is usually done to further promote and advertise the company's visual identity. Manuscript blocks and trade magazines. A manuscript block is a basic editorial structure based on Renaissance texts. A trade magazine is a similar publication produced exclusively for professionals and buyers in a particular field. They are similar to magazines in their layout and visual appeal, but the content and primary, secondary, and tertiary functions are all aimed at a particular interest group, organization, or profession. Bleed. Full bleed images are photos or illustrations that go all the way off the end of the page, ignoring margins. This is to allow more of the image to show or for layout variations. Literature systems can be created by corporations, agencies, or nonprofit organizations. They consist of brochure mailers and brochures created as a series of publications. Literature series. A serial group of brochures should have a unified appearance so they can stand together in a group. Using a color scheme, matching fonts, similar layouts, and same grid should accomplish this. The brochure should also be able to function individually as a printed piece. No grid. There is no rule that states that a grid must be used on a multi-page print project. Having no grid does not mean that the elements are strewn about with no order. You could still use guidelines and things like that to align the images properly. Items can still be aligned horizontally and vertically as well. Here's an example of no grid or a single grid image. It is a magazine spread advertising a contest for designers. There is no verticals or horizontals used for lining up elements except for the paragraph in the lower half of the right page. Most elements are titled and the images are pasted on the wall in the background separate from the type areas. It has a graffiti or wildly creative type of feel to it. This concludes part one of the presentation for week 7.